good afternoon. So this is the second lesson of higher secondary chemistry. Reminder to all the viewers, the students, that the first lesson on chemistry was delivered on 21st April at 3 p.m. Okay, so before you, those of you who have missed that lecture, that particular lesson, I would advise you to go through that video again, so that it will be easier for you to follow this particular section. Okay, so what we are doing in chemistry is solutions, unit 2 solutions, and we have already finished few topics. So we started this topic by taking up different types of concentration of solutions, and in the last lesson we have finished almost 5-6 different types of units that is used for expressing concentration. Okay, those were grams per liter, molarity, molality, and percent strength, weight by volume percent strength, volume by volume percent strength, and weight by weight percent strength. Okay, so those were the concentration units that we finished in the last lesson. Okay, so now today we will just do some two leftover units. The first one that we will take up today is the mole fraction. Okay, so all the matter is already written on the board. It is mole fraction. Okay, it is designated by the symbol X, capital X, mole fraction. Okay, so what is a mole fraction? So mole fraction, okay, mole fraction, we talk about mole fraction whenever there is a mixture of two substances. Whenever there is a mixture of, say, salt in water, or whenever there is a mixture of sugar in water, or whenever there is a mixture of two gases, supposing oxygen and hydrogen, or supposing oxygen and nitrogen in the air, etc. When there is a mixture of two or more substances, then we talk about mole fraction. Then this particular topic of mole fraction is applied to that situation. So what is a mole fraction? Mole fraction of a component in a mixture is the number of moles of that component divided by the total number of moles. Okay, so two things that we have to keep in mind is you need the number of moles of each component. Supposing there are two components, say sugar and water, then first you need to find out what is the number of moles of sugar present and what is the number of moles of water present. And then when you add the number of moles of sugar and the number of moles of water, then what you get is the total number of moles. Okay, you get the total number of moles. Okay, now to get the number of moles of the component, to get the number of moles of sugar, what do you require? You require two things. You require to know the weight of sugar present, and next you require to know the molecular weight of sugar. Okay, so let's take up this, let's try to explain this mole fraction with a simple question. Okay, supposing 171 grams of sugar, supposing 171 grams of sugar is dissolved in 100 grams of water. Okay, what is the mole fraction of sugar? Okay, in the last unit, in the last lesson, you have seen that when you know the weight of sugar and when you know the weight of water, if you know the weight of sugar and you know the weight of water, then you can express the concentration of such a mixture in many ways. You can express this in molarity, you can express this in molality, you can express this in percent strength, you can express this in grams per liter. But today we will try to express the concentration of this solution in mole fraction. Okay, so like I told you, what we require to find the mole fraction is the quantity of the component. So the quantity of the component, the quantity of sugar is 171, and the molecular weight of sugar is 342. Okay, this was also discussed in the last lesson. That is, to find the number of moles, we have to divide the weight by the molecular weight. If you divide the weight of a substance by its molecular weight, you get the number of moles of that substance. Okay. So 171 divided by 342, the answer comes is 0.5. So this is number of mole of sugar is 0.5. Similarly, the number of moles of water, is 100 divided by 18. It is 100 divided by 18, and 100 divided by 18 is 5.55. 5.55. Okay. So now I'll rub this small portion. You have seen this already. So I will rub this small portion just to finish this calculation part. So 100 divided by 18. So therefore, according to the definition of mole fraction, you should find the total number of moles. Total number of moles will be equal to 0.5. Sugar is 0.5 plus water is 5.55. So the answer you get is 6.05. 6.05. So total number of mole is 6.05, and the question asked was what is the mole fraction of the sugar? So mole fraction of sugar is equal to number of moles of sugar divided by total number of moles. This is equal to 0.5 divided by 6.05 equal to. So let me do this calculation. 0.5 divided by 6.05. The answer is 0.083, approximately 0.083 moles. Okay, 0.083 moles. Okay. So this is how you find the mole fraction of a solute, or how you find the mole fraction of a component in a mixture. Now what we will do is, I will write down the formula for mole fraction now. We will write down the formula for mole fraction so that it will be easy for you to use the formula and do the calculation whenever the question arises. Okay. So quickly I will drop this portion. Okay, formula for mole fraction. Okay, so if WB say is the weight of solute, weight of component, let's write on component B in mixture, if MB is the molecular weight of B in the mixture, similarly WA is the weight of component A in the mixture, and MA is the molecular weight MW, molecular weight of A, then then mole fraction of B, okay, we write it, we symbolize it as this XB, is equal to number of moles of B divided by total number of moles. Okay, now see this carefully. Number of moles of B, I told you it is equal to weight of B divided by molecular weight of B. Weight of B divided by molecular weight of B. And total number of mole is number of moles of A, WA by MA. WA by MA is the total number of moles of A, because WA is the weight of A, MA is the molecular weight of A, so therefore WA upon MA is the total number of moles of A. So WA upon MA plus WB upon MB. Okay, so XB is equal to this is the formula that you will use to find what? To find the mole fraction of a component in a mixture. Okay, so you will copy this down and then try to use this particular formula in doing problems. Okay, the next and the last concentration that we will be taking up is, this is I think the 7th one. It is ppm or parts per million. Okay, this concentration parts per million is used when the quantity of the solute is very small. Okay, very small. For example, used when quantity of solute is very small. Example, supposing calcium carbonate concentration, or let's say calcium ion concentration. Calcium ion concentration in water, it is about say is approximately say, so concentration of calcium ion in water is 30 mg per liter. So 30 mg per liter, milligram per liter. So 30 milligram per liter, that is, if you want to convert this to, supposing you want to convert to ppm, so how will you write down? If you want to convert 30 mg per liter, okay, which is the concentration of calcium ion in our drinking water, okay, that means in our drinking water 1 liter of drinking water contains 30 milligram of calcium, okay. So how will you convert to ppm? So you can see this is 30 mg per liter, that means 1 liter or 1000 say, okay, cc contain 30 mg, or 30 mg means 30 divided by 1000 grams. 30 divided by 1000 grams. So therefore, in ppm you have to find out 1 million. 1 million contains 6 zeros. 1000 cc contains this much. So 1 million cc. Okay, this means 1 million contain, this is 3 upon 100 means 0.03 divide by 1000 into 1 million. Okay. So if you solve this, you get the answer is 30 grams per million. So therefore, the answer is 30 ppm. 30 ppm. The answer is 30 ppm. Okay. So when the concentration of the solute is very small, then we use ppm, and you can get the value. We can calculate ppm like this. Okay, because so in the case of ppm, we have to find out in percent. See, in percent strength, you find out how much is present in 100. How much is present in 100? In ppm, we have to find how much is present in 1 million grams or 1 million cc. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, in percentage, in percent strength, you find out how much solute is present in 100 grams or 100 cc. In ppm, you find out how much is present in 1 million grams or 1 million cc. Okay, so this is all about your different ways of expressing concentrations of solutions. Okay, so we will take up the next topic, and I will rub this board. So the next topic that we will be taking up is saturated, unsaturated, and supersaturated solutions. Saturated, unsaturated, and supersaturated solutions. Okay. So what do we mean by saturated solution? Supposing, see, you have say 1 liter of this is your sugar solution. Or first of all, let's say that this is your sugar solution. How do you get it? By adding sugar to water. You add sugar to water, you get sugar solutions. Okay. Now, when you go on adding sugar, and stir, okay, it will continue to dissolve, but a time comes when no more sugar dissolves. Okay. So if this is, say, if this is 1 liter, it is 1 liter. Okay. So when the weight of sugar, if this is 1 liter and the temperature is, say, 25 degrees centigrade, if the quantity of water we have taken in the beaker is 1 liter, in the container is 1 liter, and the temperature that we have taken, the temperature of the, say, room is 25 degrees centigrade. Okay, so the sugar, the total quantity of sugar that will dissolve here is 2100 gram. This is the total quantity of, it is 2.1 kg. This is the total quantity of sugar that will dissolve in 1 liter of water at 25 degree centigrade. Okay. So after that, if you add more sugar, after adding 2.1 kg of sugar, if you add, say, even one small crystal of sugar, it will not dissolve. It will remain outside the solution. Okay. So what is this? So this type of solution is known as saturated solution. Okay. So saturated solution means those solution in which no more solute can dissolve. Okay, and unsaturated solution. Okay, so it's just opposite. Those solution in which more solute can dissolve. Okay, so again example of sugar, example of this sugar solution. I have taken 1 liter of water in a container and I have added sugar. Okay, so I go on adding sugar, say 100 grams, 200 grams, 500 grams, it will continue to dissolve. But when I have added 2100 grams, after that the sugar does not dissolve, it remains as crystals. Okay, so therefore when you dissolve 2100 grams in 1 liter of sugar, what we get is a saturated solution of sugar in water. Okay, but before that, supposing you have added just 1000 grams of sugar in this water or 1 kg of sugar in water, such solution is known as unsaturated solution. Such solution is known as unsaturated. That means unsaturated solution is solution which has not become saturated. That means it is a solution in which more solute can be added and then dissolved. Okay, so that is the meaning of unsaturated solution. Okay, and this is the data we have. That means to make sugar, a saturated sugar solution in 1 liter of water, you need 2.1 kg of sugar. Okay, now what is the meaning of supersaturated? Now to know this supersaturated solution, I will make a small adjustment here. Okay, so this is your saturated sugar solution, and it contains 2.1 kg per liter, 2.1 kg per liter. Now to this saturated solution, supposing I go on adding more sugar, or instead of adding more sugar, supposing I heat, this was the temperature of, this temperature was 25 degrees centigrade, supposing I heat and the temperature becomes, say the temperature becomes now 50 degrees centigrade. Now at 50 degrees centigrade, I can add say almost 2 kg of sugar. Okay, so therefore in this, at this temperature you have 4.1 kg of sugar in 1 liter. Okay, so we have a small board. So supposing we have a saturated sugar solution at 25 degree centigrade. The quantity of sugar present in 1 liter was 2.1 kg. Okay, now you heat the solution. You heat the solution from 25 degrees centigrade to 50 degree centigrade. And you know, it is common sense that when you heat it, naturally more sugar will again dissolve. Okay, so when you heat it to 50 degrees centigrade, again 2 kg of sugar is getting dissolved. You are adding more sugar, so 2 kg of sugar, extra 2 kg of sugar dissolves. So at 50 degrees centigrade, the concentration of sugar solution becomes 4.1 kg per liter. 4.1 kg per liter is the concentration of sugar solution at 50 degree. Okay, so therefore saturated solution depends upon temperature. At 25 degrees centigrade, sugar solution it becomes saturated with 2.1 kg in 1 liter. But at 50 degrees centigrade, the same sugar solution can be saturated by say 4.1 kg per liter. Okay, so the more the temperature, more the quantity of solute required to saturate the solution. Okay, now let's come to the meaning of supersaturated. Now supposing you cool this solution back to the original temperature. What is the original temperature? The original temperature was 25 degrees centigrade. Now you cool this to 25 degree centigrade. Now at 25 degrees centigrade, if you cool it, we expect now that the extra sugar that has dissolved, we expect that the extra sugar that had dissolved, that is 2 kg, would now come out, and again we will have 2.1 kg per liter. Okay, but this does not happen. Now even after cooling to 25 degrees centigrade, the concentration of sugar remains 3.5 kg per liter. 3.5 kg per liter. Okay, so initially at 25 degrees centigrade, 2.1 kg sugar dissolved in 1 liter of water. Okay, but after heating the solution, adding more sugar and then cooling to 25 degrees centigrade, we get a new concentration which is 3.5 kg per liter. Okay, these type of solutions are known as supersaturated. Okay, so what is the meaning of supersaturated? So supersaturated, from here only you can make out that 2.1 kg is the normal weight of sugar that can dissolve in 1 liter of water at 25 degree centigrade. Okay, but in this supersaturated condition, the same 1 liter of water has dissolved 3.5 kg of sugar. Okay, so definition of supersaturated solution can be written like this: it is a solution which contain a higher concentration of solute that would normally be present in a saturated solution at that temperature. So supersaturated solution is a solution which contain a higher concentration of solute that would normally be present in a saturated solution at that temperature. Okay, so normally at 25 degrees centigrade, 1 liter of water would contain or would dissolve 2.1 kg of sugar. Okay, but if the same 1 liter of water is dissolving 3.5 kg made by a different process, you can see that it was made by a different process. This type of solutions are known as supersaturated solution. Okay, so that is the end of this topic, supersaturated solution. Saturated, unsaturated, and supersaturated. I will drop this board and take up the next topic. Okay, right. So next topic that we will take up is solubility of gas in liquid. Okay. Okay. So this is something that you are all aware of. Gas is dissolved in water. Okay, because oxygen dissolves in water, that's why aquatic life, the fishes, aquatic life, it survives because oxygen can be dissolved in water. Okay, the oxygen that we breathe, it dissolves in our blood, and that blood takes the oxygen to different parts of the body. Okay, so gases dissolve in liquid. Okay, and in this section we will be finding out the different aspects of the solubility of gas in a liquid. Okay, so what are the factors? Factors responsible are, number one, nature of gas. Nature of gas. Okay, all of you know that ammonia is highly soluble in water. Ammonia is highly soluble in water, but the oxygen that we breathe is sparingly soluble in water. Okay, if the oxygen that we breathe was completely soluble in water, then it would be, you can understand, difficult to breathe when we are traveling on ocean, because all the oxygen will be dissolved in the water. Okay, so oxygen is sparingly soluble in water, nitrogen is sparingly soluble in water, but gases like, say, carbon dioxide or gases like ammonia is highly soluble in water. Carbon dioxide is not, we cannot say that carbon dioxide is also highly soluble in water, but ammonia gas is highly soluble in water. Okay, so the solubility of gases, if you want to compare, ammonia most soluble, next carbon dioxide, then comes next will be your other gases like oxygen and nitrogen. So the nature of the gas is one factor which decide how much a gas has dissolved in that particular liquid, example water. Okay, so example, ammonia highly soluble, oxygen sparingly soluble. Next is pressure. Okay. Now this is where some scientific ideas comes. Okay, the next factor is the pressure of the gas. Okay, and first of all we will write down all the factors. The first factor was the nature of the gas, the second factor is the pressure of gas, and the third factor is temperature. So primarily we will take up the pressure of the gas. So we have already explained this. There's nothing more to explain here. Nature of the gas. Some gases are highly soluble by their nature, by the inherent nature. Some gases are sparingly soluble in water. Okay, like oxygen. And the second factor on which solubility of gas. How much solubility? What is the meaning of solubility of gas? By the way, solubility of gas in a liquid is how much of gas has dissolved in that water. How many grams of gas in 1 liter of water? How many grams of gas in 1 liter of that liquid? So the second factor is pressure of the gas, and the third factor is temperature of the gas. Okay, so we will just very quickly, I will drop this off and then take up pressure of the gas. And in this topic you will come across the one important law known as the Henry's law. Okay, so pressure of gas. Okay, see explanation, very simple. Supposing this is a beaker, a container containing water. This is a water, and this contains gas, say oxygen. Oxygen. Supposing oxygen at unit of pressure, say 1 bar pressure, and this is oxygen at, say, 2 bar pressure. Bar is a unit for pressure, bar pressure. Okay, and this is your water. All right. Now if you know that oxygen is on top of this. If it is 1 bar pressure, supposing if these are the molecules of oxygen, if these are the molecules of oxygen. Molecules of oxygen. Now, if it is a 2 bar pressure, then the molecules of oxygen will be more than in the first case. See? Okay. So, in 1 bar pressure, there will be the molecules on the surface of the water will be like this, or it will be spreaded. Okay, less density, less number of molecules on the surface or on top of the surface. But a 2 bar pressure, more pressure means more number of molecules to the surface. So you can imagine yourself, or you can just make out from this 2 diagram that solubility will be more in this case. Solubility of oxygen will be more in this case. Why? Because more molecules are on the surface, or more molecules are interacting with the surface. But in this case, less number of molecules means less molecules will be interacting with the surface. So therefore, you can say, if this is the first case, and this is if this is case 2 and this is case 1, okay, you can say that solubility is more in case 2 than case 1. So the general rule is that solubility of a gas increases when pressure increases. Solubility of a gas increases when the pressure increases. Okay, so this is the general rule. So we will end today's lesson with this last topic, which is effect of pressure on solubility. Okay, we have I've just explained to you why solubility of a gas in a liquid increases when the pressure increases. Okay, so when the pressure increases, more number of molecules will be there on the surface, so more solubility will take place. Okay, so the day-to-day experience, or the day-to-day experience of this particular phenomena, all of us has heard or experienced. We have breathing difficulty in high altitude. When you are going up in the mountain, climbing the mountains, as altitude increases, the pressure of air, the pressure of oxygen also decreases. Okay, when altitude is more, the pressure is less, the pressure decreases. So when the pressure of air or the pressure of oxygen decreases, therefore what happens is less oxygen will dissolve in our blood. Okay, more altitude, less pressure means less solubility, less amount of oxygen will dissolve in our blood. So our body does not get the required quantity of oxygen, and we face what is known as the breathing problem. We have this breathing problem. Okay, but when we come down to lower altitude, okay, up from the mountains, when we come down to the plain, in the plains the atmospheric pressure is high. So when the pressure is high, what happens is the amount of oxygen that dissolves in the blood will be more, and the person becomes comfortable again. Okay, so the difficulty in breathing in high altitude is because solubility decreases when pressure also decreases. Okay, and the next one is a medical condition. It is known as BENDS, bends. Okay, this take place in deep sea divers or scuba divers. We call them the scuba divers. Now these scuba divers, they you know that deep under in the ocean bed, the pressure is very high. When the pressure is very high and they are taking oxygen from their oxygen cylinder, all right, and it generally it comes as a mixture of oxygen and nitrogen. It's not pure oxygen. So when these scuba divers, when they go to the bottom of the ocean, the amount of oxygen and nitrogen that dissolves in the blood is very, very high because of high pressure. In the bottom of the ocean, the pressure is very high. When the pressure is very high, solubility is also very high. So, extra quantity or more amount of oxygen and nitrogen dissolves in the blood. Okay. And those divers, if they suddenly come to the surface, the solubility decreases because of less pressure, and when the solubility decreases because of less pressure, what happens is bubbles of the gas comes out in the blood capillaries, These bubbles of bubbles of air, bubbles of nitrogen gas which comes out in the blood vessels. Okay. This causes blockage. In the blood vessels, and this medical condition, which is life threatening, it is known as bends. Okay. So, this medical condition bends happens in people associated with deep sea diving, and it is because of high pressure on the bottom of the ocean. The solubility of oxygen and nitrogen increases, and when they suddenly come to the surface, these gas, they come out of the bloodstream as bubbles, and it causes blockage. Okay. So, the process or the method to avoid this medical condition is that these scuba divers, when they need to come to the surface, they don't come to the surface suddenly. They come to the surface very, very gradually, so that the oxygen or the nitrogen that has dissolved, it comes out of the bloodstream very gradually, so there is no phenomena of these bubbles in the bloodstream. Okay. So, this is all that we will be doing today, and we have a lot to do in this particular chapter. Okay. So, the next topic we will be taking up in the next lesson probably will be Henry's law. Henry's law, this is a law gives us an expression for the relation between pressure of a gas and solubility of a gas in a liquid. Okay. So, all of you